In a country where 70% of Filipinos are unbanked or underserved, fintech has opened the doors to accessible capital. Online lenders, smaller and nimbler than traditional banks, hope to bridge the gap. But, as is the case with technology, regulation almost always lags behind, leaving players operating within a regulatory sandbox where they learn as they go along. So we ask our debaters, should online lending be regulated by the central bank? Hello, I'm Mike Yoreta, and welcome to Square Off Season 18, the VNA Law Debates.
We would like to make push a request for our Bangko Sentral to consider a cap over consumer, at least consumer loan.
And the crackdown continues. The Securities and Exchange Commission aggressively going after illegal and abusive lending apps.
We're happy that Google Play has revised their developer policies, in which case they will require you to indicate the minimum and the maximum repayment period, which should not be, at least in the US, not less than 60 days. So meaning it should be longer. And second, they will require you to indicate your annual percentage rate, which in the US is at least not higher than 36% per annum.
From operating without a license, charging exorbitant interest fees, and harassments over collection, the Securities and Exchange Commission has closed down dozens of mobile lending apps and counting.
Mag-ingat sa taong to, tong taong to ay may ninakaw sa company namin at di marunong magbayad ng utang. Tapos hinaras po nila yung company ko. Sobrang nakakahiya.
Nakakahiya na. Sa maliit na amount, parang umutang ka, pati buhay mo kasama.
Nagbuo nga ng chat group itong mga nabiktima, numbering more than 1,000 itong kumpanya nito. At accordingly, meron ng 5 nagpakamatay o nag-suicide dahil sa kahiyan na dinulot ng pananakot at pangunguya.
Currently, financing apps need only a secondary license from the SEC since they aren't sourcing funds publicly from deposits. But is it time for the central bank to step in? Should online lending be regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas? Arguing for the affirmative side is Jesu College. All the way from the Gate City of the South, Digos, Davao del Sur, the next generation lawyers from Jesu College.
I love the beach and I am very into the island life, but for now I am taking a pause from it for the study of law. Some people don't know I am very passionate about environmental protection in my own little ways.
I am a happy-go-lucky person. Actually, you see is what you get. As they say, I'm an open book. I took up law school because I wanted to become an instrument in order for people to have access to justice.
I am working full-time as a nurse in a government institution, and I have been continuously juggling between work, law school, and debating. And being in law school brings me closer towards the dream, and it has really given me fulfillment.
Team Jesu College. Dedicated, passionate, determined. Taking on the negative side is Bukidnon State University. From the institution aiming for moral and spiritual truth, the next generation lawyers from Bukidnon State University.
I'm a strong woman on the outside, but I'm also emotional and sensitive in the inside, especially in terms of my family. So I took up law school because, aside from it is my childhood dream, I also want to help my fellow Lumads in Bukidnon to get closer to the legal system.
Having immersed myself to the reality of the education industry, I've always find it necessary for me to empower the people in this industry, and I find law as a great avenue for me to realize this vision.
I am a very adventurous person, and I like spontaneous getaways, and I have been debating for almost 9 years already, though I was used to a different format. My father has greatly influenced me to take up law. He made the point that lawyers have the power to make a difference through law.
Team Bukidnon State University. Driven,
intellectual, progressive.
Let's now meet our distinguished judges. First off, we have attorney Richard Henrik Beltran, a senior associate at the V&A law firm. Next, we have attorney Frederick Luis Regencia, a former square-off debater. He was part of the team that made it to the finals in season 9. And presiding as our chief adjudicator, Judge Princess Bustos Onqueco from the Regional Trial Court Branch 91 in Santa Cruz, Laguna. We're using a modified Oregon-Oxford format. The debate is between two sides, the affirmative and the negative, with 3 members each. Each debater from the affirmative side argues the necessity, beneficiality, and practicability of the proposition, while the counterpart debaters on the negative side oppose these arguments. Each debater is given 4 minutes to deliver a constructive speech and rebut the previous argument. Each debater is given 2 minutes to interpolate or cross-examine the opposing debater. Only categorical questions may be asked. Each of the judges may ask 1 question of each speaker within that speaker's time limit. The judges score each team in terms of manner, matter, and interpolation. The team with a higher score from each judge gets a point. The team with the most number of points wins the debate. The chief adjudicator rules in the event of ties, objections, or contestations. This week's proposition, let it be resolved that online lending should be regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. First up, for the affirmative side, we have Jemima. You've got 4 minutes to tell us why online lending should be regulated by the BSP.
The internet is a force to be reckoned with, more so when the online platform is used as a medium to engage the services of financial institutions like banking, like online lending. If left unregulated by the central bank, its continued operation will inevitably have a powerful blow on the country's economy and financial stability. Ladies and gentlemen, your honors, good evening. For tonight's motion, Team Cor Jesu submits that online lending must be regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas in concurrence with other government agencies. Before I proceed, allow me to establish the parameters of today's debate. 1. Online lending. By online lending, we mean that which is defined in Section 3 of RA 9474 and all other credit-granting business and financial institutions, whether corporations, partnership, sole proprietorship, banks, non-banks with quasi-functions, non-banks with financial intermediaries which use the internet or the online world as its platform. 2. BSP's jurisdiction and authority shall be in concurrence with the Securities and Exchange Commission, National Privacy Commission, BIR, and other relevant government agencies. Hence, their powers are not mutually exclusive and can be harmonized. Ladies and gentlemen, your honors, the issue of tonight's debate is this: should the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas regulate online lending in the Philippines? Team Cor Jesu answers this question with a resounding yes. If it is of utmost necessity for the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to step in and regulate online lending based on 2 propositions. First proposition, Section 2 of the new Central Bank Act and Section 20, Article 12 of no less than the 1987 Constitution gave the BSP the primary responsibility to exercise such regulatory powers over operations of... Yes,
Can
Your Honor.
online lending not continue if it is not regulated?
Your Honor, online lending cannot continue if it is not regulated, primarily because we need to regulate online lending because online world is such a technical and complicated world, and it has to be regulated for it to have a safer and efficient process in the online lending. Thank you, Your Honors. As I proceed, gave the BSP primary responsibility to exercise such regulatory powers over operations of finance companies and other institutions performing similar functions. In the new charter of the new central bank, its scope was expanded and included not only bank institutions, quasi-banking institutions, among others, but as well as credit granting business in which an online lending as defined is covered. Second proposition, Your Honors, it is our proposal that the BSP's regulatory power be harmonized with other agencies in order to fully regulate online lending transactions. Your Honors, the online lending is a multifaceted business. It requires that the national government agencies to secure successful operation and non-damaging to our country. Yes, Your Honor.
Currently, online lending companies or lending companies in general are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Are you saying that the regulation being done by the SEC is insufficient?
Your Honor, what we are trying to say is that we want to harmonize the regulatory powers of the BSP as well as other regulating bodies which regulates online lending, because as a status quo, Your Honor, it's not only the SEC which actually regulates. We also have AMLA and all other regulating agencies. So what we are trying to prove, Your Honor, is we want to harmonize so that we can delineate the jurisdiction of each regulating agency.
2 minutes for the cross-examination.
So, counsel, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, counsel. So, counsel, I presume that you have read the Ease on Doing Business Act of 2018. So, you know that your policy is actually in violation of that law because you are giving undue burden to Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and
We are actually making it safer and efficient because we are harmonizing.
The Securities Exchange Commission is ineffective in dealing with online businesses.
Come again, counsel?
Oh, you're not listening, counsel. But are you aware, counsel, that SEC has recently received 2 distinctions on excellence in governance due to information technology?
Yes, counsel, but the
Okay,
thing is,
counsel,
there
so
is
you're also
still
aware,
a
counsel, that
regulating
SEC has
power
actually
for
issued
BSP, and
memorandum
we want
circulars
to
18 and 19.
delineate the
Speaker,
jurisdiction
respect my time.
of BSP as well as
Respect my
other
time, Speaker.
regulating agencies.
Are you aware that SEC has issued memorandum circulars 18 and 19?
Yes, I am very well aware, counsel,
And that section 19
only involves registration, online business name, and nothing about cash flow, settlements, interest, and all the likes, which is covered by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas.
Businesses?
Come again, counsel.
You're not listening with me, counsel. However, you are very aware that the jurisdiction of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and Securities and Exchange Commission were already separated by the
Yes, but that is on the basis of their definition of online lending, not online lending, but
counsel, do you
traditional
think that
lending. That
giving
is
back
not
the
the
powers
traditional
already
lending that we are
transferred to
trying to
SEC
say
is
here,
a form of
counsel.
retrogression
Online
rather than
lending
a
is not the
progression
same
form
with
of-
traditional
Okay,
lending.
counsel, you're not listening. But counsel, you conceded to the fact that BSP and SEC have separate jurisdictions.
Yes, that's why
Okay,
we want to
counsel. So do
harmonize
you
so
think
that we can
what you're
delineate
doing
their
is actually
jurisdiction
a retrogression
so that we will
rather
have
than a
an
progressive
effective
action? Okay?
No,
So
counsel,
therefore,
we're
Your
not
Honors,
saying
it is
that.
very
We want
clear
to
that the
harmonize
framers
their
of our
powers.
Constitution has actually...
Okay, Sheena, you've got 4 minutes now to advance your argument on why online lending platforms need not be regulated by the Bangko Sentral.
Your Honors, everyone, good evening. Online lending is a platform that addresses the financial needs of common Filipinos that are left unserved by more sophisticated banking institutions. And presently, they are being governed by existing laws in financing and lending, such that any violations in data privacy and harassments and unethical collection practices are effectively and efficiently regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Bukidnon State University strongly opposes to the proposition that Bangko Sentral will regulate online lending entities that are not subsidiaries of banks and quasi-banks. However, it is our proposition that we should implement strictly our laws in order to fully exercise SEC's regulatory functions and also strong interagency coordination. The affirmative that they want concurrence with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and all other agencies. However, this is in violation of Ease in Doing Business Act and in contrary with the governing laws of lending, which are RA 9474 and RA 8556, and also the Securities Regulation Code, or RA 8799. So, Your Honors, our 2 level of analysis will tell you why the proposal of the affirmative is not necessary. First, Securities and Exchange Commission is already effectively discharging its functions over the online business sector. Actually, yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, are you saying that the mechanisms in SEC right now is already enough to mitigate, for example, predatory rates imposed upon these lenders?
Yes, Your Honor. SEC has actually issued memorandum circulars 18 and 19 respectively in order to prohibit online lenders that are not registered and require them to disclose advertisements on online platforms. Moreover, Section 5 of RA 9474 and Section 5 of RA 8556 already provides that the Monetary Board of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas may actually impose interest rate without necessarily getting from the Securities and Exchange Commission the regulatory functions. Moreover, to protect both the interests of the lending entities and the borrowers, SEC relentlessly hunted the informal lenders and those performing abusive and unethical lending practices. These efforts of Securities and Exchange Commission has actually cracked down 42 online lenders. So Your Honors, all of this has proved that regulation of SEC is already sufficient. Strengthening our own line of capabilities does not require the amendment of our existing laws. Moreover, second, the regulation of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas over the online lending entities are actually inconsistent with the primary goal of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, which is first, yes, Your Honor.
If these online lending companies will be used for, let's say, money laundering, wouldn't you say that it should be under the jurisdiction of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas?
Your Honor, I beg to disagree, Your Honor, but money laundering is actually not governed by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So money laundering issues should be governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, being the corporate regulator of online lending entities. Moreover, Sections 3 and 130 of the Central Banking Act, as amended by RA 1121-1, actually transferred the jurisdiction of non-banking institutions to SEC. Why? Because the regulatory functions of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is rather a mechanism focused towards price stability and monetary stability. The difference between, yes, Your Honor?
SEC's powers are very broad.
Sorry, no more time for that question. But Jemima, you've got 2 minutes for the cross-examination.
Good evening, Counsel. My questions are answerable by yes or no. Counsel, is it your contention that the conduct of business of a lending company is the same as that of an online lending company?
Yes, of course.
Yes,
It's
thank
just
you,
a
Counsel.
platform.
Can you
It's
say
stated in my
that in
speech,
traditional
Counsel.
lending, technological platforms were used?
Yes.
Of course not. The internet was not used as a medium in traditional lending. Then there is a clear difference because in online lending, technology is not used. Thank you, Counsel. Please respect my time. How about on the speed of processing loans or credit, Counsel? Would you agree with me that there is a difference between the traditional lending and online
It is
lending?
not a valid
Yes, there is,
classification, Your
Counsel. You think
there
that this
are
aspect
requisites
of
for
selling
valid
and receiving
qualification,
money
Your
should
Honor.
be regulated? Yes, Counsel. You think that are you aware
You are
of the
answering for me,
memorandum
Counsel.
circular number 19 of SEC?
Of course.
Yes, you are aware. Would you agree with me that this is limited only to the formalities and requirements of a lending corporation
that
and
they are
none
the
of the
regulator of the
provisions
online lending
go
companies
about the
because they already
operation
step
of
into the
online
picture,
lending?
Counsel.
Yes, Counsel, it is limited. The provision such mentions only online lending as an
But Counsel,
institution,
your proposal is actually
registration
in violation of RA
name.
9474,
Compliance.
RA
No, Counsel, it is
8556,
not.
RA 8799,
Thank you, Counsel. Are you aware of the extensive powers of BSP? Are you aware of this?
Yes.
Are you aware
But
that
it
BSP
is
has
limited
now
by
the
RA
power to
9474
regulate
and
credit granting
8556?
business? Are you aware, Counsel, that the BSP has now a regulatory power over credit granting business?
But not to corporate agencies such
Yes
as
or no,
online lending
Counsel?
entities.
Yes or no, Counsel?
Yes, of course.
Yes, therefore you're conceding to the fact that
No,
BSP
Counsel,
can now
online
regulate
lending
payment
entities are not
schemes,
under the
interest rates, cash
regulatory
flows,
powers of Bangko
among
Sentral ng
others. Thank you
Pilipinas
for
because
conceding,
they are
Counsel. Your
corporate
honors, the
entities,
negative,
Counsel.
have conceded to the fact that online lending is a class of its own which should not be treated like traditional lending. We also have proven by facts, by law, that BSP cannot deny of its regulatory powers to craft guidelines that should be imposed on online lending. Thank you.
Let's now hear from the second affirmative speaker, Paolo. You've got 4 minutes to tell us why it would be beneficial to place lending apps under the supervision of the central bank.
Public shaming, breach in data privacy, fraud, identity theft, money laundering, and terrorist financing are only some of the many crimes and violations that can be committed in the course of online lending business. And with the BSP stepping in, the efforts to eradicate these infractions are only intensified and made more effective. Ladies and gentlemen, your honors, good evening. Tonight, Team Jesu strongly argues that it is beneficial for the Bangko Sentral to regulate online lending in order to uphold the individual rights of Filipino people and promote national security against the threats of terrorism and money laundering. But before I proceed, your honors, allow me to oppose the erroneous claims of the negative. What the negative failed to understand is that online lending has also been practiced by banks and non-banks with quasi-banking function, which only the BSP can regulate. This is aside from the fact that the BSP also regulate interest rates, cash flow, and payment schemes, among other. Next, your honor, we are not divesting SEC of its power. Online lending is multifaceted. There must be cross-government cooperation. Power of regulation is not and cannot be concentrated in SEC alone. The BSP should be made one of the agencies that regulate online lending for a more focused and comprehensive regulation. However, we would like to thank the negative for conceding to the fact that there must be a strong co-agency cooperation. They have already conceded to that fact, your honor. To continue now onto my arguments. First, it is beneficial to have the BSP regulate online lending to avert money laundering and violations of the Human Security Act of 2007 and RA 10168 on financing of terrorism. As provided in BSP Circular number 944, it is the policy of the Bangko Sentral that online lending should not be used for money laundering or terrorist financing. These crimes can very well be regulated by the BSP through its power of inspection, examination, audit, and appropriate mechanism that is enunciated in the 2018 IRR of the AMLA. Currently, the BSP provides for a sandbox approach in regulating fintech industry, which heightens the security measure for online lending. By putting into place Know Your Customer policy, which ensures that the identity of the borrowers are properly verified before licenses to operate are issued. This is elucidated in the case of Gold Financial versus CMIC. This mechanism set forth by the BSP are needed to prevent money laundering, terrorist financing, and other illegal acts. Second, BSP's role in regulating online lending is beneficial in order to sanction and penalize unlawful credit collection. From July 2018 up to the present, the NPC reported receiving a total number of 921 complaints against online lending apps, comprising more than 55% of the total complaints filed with the MPC for public shaming and harassment. Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, aren't all of those things already regulated by SSC by filtering registrations and then closing down those companies who are non-compliant of government regulations?
Yes, Your Honor. However, Your Honor, online lending is also being operated by banks and non-banks with quasi-banking functions. These are not under the jurisdiction of the SEC, Your Honor. To continue, Your Honor, thank you very much. By effectuating its regulatory powers over online lending, businesses for banks, non-banks with quasi-banking functions, and the like, the BSP can impose penalties on violations and help stop its unscrupulous operation, including their unfair and scandalous credit collection. With that, Your Honor, we continue to propose for BSP's regulatory powers over online lending. Thank you.
2 minutes for the cross-examination.
Hi, Counsel.
Hello, Counsel.
Okay, so Counsel, in the status quo, are you aware that SEC regulates corporations
Yes,
per se,
alongside
right?
with many other agencies,
just yes or no. I
Counsel,
don't want to invest so much shouting with you, so please just answer yes or
continue,
no. Okay,
Counsel.
thank you so much for being so respectful. So BSP regulates banks and quasi-banks, right?
Yes.
And status quo. Okay, so you agree that the role of BSP is of utmost importance for economy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are you aware that there are over 600,000 companies under the regulation of SEC?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me remind you, Council, that you earlier agreed that BSP is a vital agency of the economy,
Yes.
right? Okay. So, Your Honors, placing the 600,000 agencies under the
Your Honors, we're
regulatory
not asking
authority
that these
of
agencies
the
be
BSP
placed under
would
the
cast
BSP.
undue burden
What we
to a
are asking
vital
is that there
agency
is
of
a
our country. I thought that
cross-government
you already agreed
cooperation
that we
with
would
SEC
not
and
engage in
BSP.
so much shouting, so
Just
I hope
continue,
you can with
Council.
your end of the
Continue.
bargain. So, are you aware that SEC has received complaints on various online lending
Yes,
companies?
I just said that on my
Okay.
speech.
So, in that, the matter of fact, there are no existing complaints under the 3,419 registered legitimized company under the SEC, right? These 42 complaints are for
There are actually
unregistered
921 complaints since July 2018 until now, Council.
So, Council, is it your
Refresh your
contention
facts,
that the
Council.
SEC is incapable of or insufficient
It
in
is our
regulating
contention, Council, that
these
if
laws?
these things happen with online lending
So,
that
Your
are
Honors,
operated
if
by
you
banks
compare
and
this
quasi-banking functions, they
3,419
must
registered
also
institutions
answer for
to the
their
42
violations.
unregistered issues or complaints that the SEC
Again,
has
Your
already
Honor,
issued
we
a cease
are
and
not
desist order,
questioning the power
it is
of the
quite
SEC.
narrow and
Actually, there are
myopic to discredit the
921
capacity of the
complaints
SEC
already
to
filed with the
regulate
NPC
these
now. It
corporations.
is not just 42.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Christelle, you've got 4 minutes now to tell us why it would not be in the country's best interest to place online lending operations under BSP regulation.
Your Honors, the affirmative actually claims that there is a difference between online lending and traditional lending. We agree. However, the difference is only the platform. Still, the goal of lending is to lend money to its borrowers, Your Honors. And they didn't even vaguely accept the fact or didn't even qualify that there is insufficiency among the SEC. So what is really the contention of the affirmative on the first place in this debate? So the challenge for regulators is to protect against systematic risk and maintain a fair, safe, and competitive market. Your Honors, this side of the bench presents our risk-benefit analysis, which presupposes that subjecting online lending under the regulation of BSP would bring more harm than benefit. First, the transfer of regulation from SEC would cast undue burden to the BSP. Second, if BSP will be the regulator of lendings per se, it is contrary to Republic Act 11032 or the Ease of Doing Business Act of 2018. On the first analysis, in 2016, a Bangladesh bank laundered money through the RCBC amounting to $1 million. Subsequently, in the year 2018, the BSP was on alert when hackers tried to rob a Malaysian bank with the intent to deposit the laundered money here in the Philippines. It shows, Your Honors, that BSP has more compelling matters to attend to that is detrimental to our volatile economy. We agree.
The SEC's powers are broad. Should the central bank not help them?
Your Honors, that is why there is delineation in the first place. Because the BSP should be regulating these lendings under banks and quasi-banks alone, and SEC would be the ones to actually regulate this lending under corporations or companies per se. Your Honors, may I proceed? We agree that the BSP is a highly reputable agency. However, they play a major role on safeguarding the monetary reserves of our country and maintaining price stability. It is myopic to discredit the authority and capacity of SEC when in fact out of 3,419 registered lending and financing corporations, only 42 of these complaints, which in the first place are from unregistered entities, and SEC has directly acted upon such. More significantly, with the implementation of the Commission's online company registration system, or the SEC iRegister, it has managed to bag the Commission a certificate of recognition at the Philippine E-Government Awards for its excellence in governance with the use of information technology. More recently, the SEC was identified by the National Computer Center as one of the only two government agencies that attain transactional web presence model of e-government developed by the United Nations and American Society of Public Administration. Affirmative presents unnecessary delusions of exigency where in fact the current laws are sufficient to address the problem. Second of all is this, Republic Act 11032 or the Ease of Doing Business Act of 2018 provides that in order to establish efficient turnaround delivery of services by the government, it should establish a program for the adoption of streamlined procedures to expedite business transactions. Any company wanting to be incorporated should first obtain a primary license from SEC, and subsequently, if they wish to venture into lending, they will have to obtain the secondary license from BSP if affirmative is actually proposing that BSP is going to regulate these corporations as well. This would create inconvenience for a simple government process that is made complex, which is contrary to the efforts of the government to ease the doing of business. Furthermore, the revised corporation code mandated the commission to develop and implement an electronic filing and monitoring system.
2 minutes for the cross-examination.
Counsel, would you say that internet make things easier?
Yes.
Then you would agree that the reason why people take up online loans is because of its speedy approval, right?
Arguably, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Counsel, would you know what would happen if a competition exists between online lenders providing lower and lower
Competition
interest?
is always existing in the market,
At first,
Counsel. What is your
to
point?
enlighten you, at first, more and more people will apply for loans, more and more money will be released,
That is why
resulting
SEC
to a
is
need of more
regulating
money
it.
to be
They even
printed.
tapped with
Would you
Google
think
Play
that this
or
will
Google
result to a
Philippines
better
in
economy?
order to filter out these applications
Face here,
that are
Counsel.
actually.
Would you think that this will
doing
result
this.
to a better economy?
Pardon?
Of course not. Inflation rate,
Pardon, Counsel.
high-priced commodities, low money value, in short, monetary instability. Is there any other agency or instrumentality of the government who can regulate interest rate or cash flow aside from the BSP?
Again,
There
as
is
the
actually
legislative speaker told
none,
us, the BSP
Your
can
Honors,
actually
only
put
BSP
interest on this
lays
things.
the responsibility
However, the
to monitor
regulation
interest
will still
rates
be
and
with
cash
SEC.
flow
They
to
can
ensure
actually regulate
economic
the
and financial
interest rates
stability
without
of
having
our
to
country.
remove the
A
regulation
short evaluation
directly
of the
from
cause
SEC.
and effect would clearly show that without BSP to regulate online lending, a small change in the usual disbursement or release of money will disrupt the country's cash flow and will lead us all to ruin. Do you know what identity theft is, Counsel?
Yes, Counsel.
Okay. Are you aware that this kind of crime can easily be
These
done in the
kinds
guise
of
of
things
online
can
lending?
be forwarded
Yes, of
from
course.
SEC to the
Your
different
Honor, online
agencies that
lending
are
is
actually
everywhere.
concerned
It
about
can't be
it.
availed
That is
without
why in
just
our
one
house
click.
we would like to
However, we
propose
are
that
blind
there
of
be
the danger it
strengthening of laws
possesses.
and
The details
strengthening
we
of
provide in
coordination
the
with
application are enough for our
agencies
whole
appropriate.
identity to be stolen. We might end up paying loans we never asked in the first place. Counsel, do you know the definition of money laundering?
Yes, Counsel.
Well, to enlighten everybody, it is the process of concealing the origins of money obtained illegally. Are you aware that due to the advent of technology, online lending could be and will be a mode of transferring money in money laundering?
I
Can
have
be used as
actually
a
given an
guise for
example
the
with that, and
lender
that
borrower?
is why that the BSP
Now let's
can
talk
actually
about
regulate this.
financing
If these
terrorism.
are actually
Does money...
Let's now hear from the third affirmative speaker, Robbie. You've got 4 minutes to tell us why it would be practicable to have the Philippine Central Bank regulate online lending.
Ladies and gentlemen, your honors, good evening. Team Core Jesu is resolute on its stand that it is practicable to harmonize the functions of BSP with that of SEC and other regulating agencies in order to regulate online lending, your honors. As the practicability speaker, I will prove to you on how vesting BSP with regulatory powers over online lending is possible. First, BSP is more capable in regulating advances of financial technology. Second, there is already an ongoing coordination with SEC and BSP in order to regulate interest rates, transaction fees, and other charges as of September 20, 2019 of online lending. But before I proceed, yes, Your Honor.
Does the BSP not simply duplicate what the SEC already does?
Thank you for that question, Your Honors. Your Honors, as of the moment, we have no single comprehensive law for the regulation of online lending. And giving this power to BSP, Your Honors, not just a simple duplication, Your Honors, because SEC only regulates corporations, and online lending, Your Honors, there are single proprietors and even individuals who engage in online lending. Yes,
Counsel,
Your
there's
Honor.
already coordination between SEC and BSP in terms of online lending. Why the transfer of power?
Your Honor, we are not suggesting for the transfer of power from SEC to BSP, Your Honors. It is part of our contention, Your Honors, that online lending is actually a new kid in the block, Your Honors, and cannot be treated as a traditional online lending, Your Honors. Section 9 of RA 9474 treats of corporations and regulations by the SEC pertaining to registration and matters of not matters of cash flow, Your Honors. With the advent of the passage of the National Payment Systems Act of 2018, or RA 11127, Your Honors, matters of payment settlements, cash flow, and payment systems, Your Honors, are under now the jurisdiction of BSP. Now to proceed, Your Honors, in the course of this debate, Your Honors, we have obtained several concessions from the negative side, Your Honors. Your Honors, they conceded to the fact that facts of money laundering can be regulated by the BSP, and also interest rate states it is only the BSP that has jurisdiction, Your Honors. They have failed to attack the matter of this debate head on, Your Honors, because we are not suggesting for the transfer of jurisdiction, Your Honors, but rather a cooperation, Your Honors, of these regulating agencies. Now on to my constructive. Your Honors, what enables the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to be an effective regulating body for online lending is its improved and up-to-date policies, Your Honors. They have a given circular number 944 or the guidelines for virtual currency and sections 4806Q of the Manual Regulations for Non-Bank Financial Institutions or the Know Your Customer policy. Your Honors, the Central Bank also embraces the policy of financial protection with the basic tenets of consumer protection, which is in fact, Your Honors, in August 2019, digital firms and other financial institutions have already partnered with BSP, SEC, and 5 other regulating agencies, Your Honors, to create an industry standard for data protection, data privacy, digital literacy, and borrower protection, Your Honors. Moreover, last October 2018, the Securities and Exchange Commission has expressly asked the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to work in coordination with them in order to put a cap on interest and loan rates, transaction fees, and other charges of online lending companies, citing Republic Act 9474 and Republic Act 8556. Your Honors, these developments, albeit being its initial stages, Your Honors, is a welcome development, and this cements the proof of the contention of the affirmative that regulation by the BSP is not only possible but is well on its way, Your Honors. With this, Your Honors, the interest of both lenders and borrowers are protected because it would protect them from predatory lending and also the potential default risks for payment, Your Honors, and access to credit is maximized. Ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's debate,
2 minutes for the cross-examination.
Hello, Counsel.
good evening, Counsel.
All right, so have you read RA 9474 of the Lending
Yes,
Company
I have
Regulation
extensively
Act?
read
All right,
the law,
so you've
Counsel.
already read it, Counsel. You are aware of how the law defines a lending company, right?
Counsel, a lending
All right,
company
so
cannot be
are you
equated to
aware
a
of the
traditional
definition of a
online
lending
lending
company
company
according
because
to the
it
implementing
utilizes the
rules and
internet as a
regulations of
platform
RA 9474,
wherein payment
Counsel?
systems shall now be regulated by the
All
BSP
right, are you
under
aware
the National
of the
Payment Systems
definition of a
Act of
lending company? I am
2018.
asking Counsel, yes or no?
Counsel, a lending company cannot
All
be
right.
treated as an
So,
online lending
no,
company.
let me
It is
enlighten you,
essentially
Counsel. A
different
lending
because it is a
company is a
class of its
corporation
own
engaged in
because it
granting loans from its
utilizes
own
a different
capital funds.
mechanism
It is a
for
corporation, and
online
the law clearly
payments, Your
differentiates
Honor,
it
Counsel.
from banking
It utilizes
institutions,
the internet.
savings, and loan associations, and other financing. Are you also aware, Counsel, that the same law clearly states that no lending company shall conduct business unless granted
Counsel,
an
again,
authority
it is
to
our
operate by
contention
said
that a
counsel?
lending company cannot
Did you
come
know,
under
Counsel,
the definition of a
that
lending
Section 11
online
of
lending
RA
company.
9474
Counsel, Section
clearly
11
states that
delineates the
lending
functions of
companies shall
SEC
be
with
under
that
the
of
supervision
BSP,
and regulation
but
of the
still
SEC.
there is
Yes or
jurisdiction
no,
by the
Counsel?
BSP over subsidiaries
Yes or
and
no, Counsel?
affiliates. Counsel, there is a
Yes or
different
no?
distinction.
All right.
The
So, Counsel,
delineation
do
of
not deny
BSP
the
and
letter
SEC's
of the law,
power
Counsel. The law
cannot be
clearly
carried
states
out
and
under
delineates
the
the
meaning of
authority to
online lending
supervise and
because under
regulate
the
between
Syntax
SEC and
approach of
BSP.
the
BSP
BSP,
will only
online
exercise
lending is a
supervision and
different
regulations
class
to lending
from
companies
traditional
that
lending
are
companies.
subsidiaries and affiliates of banks and quasi-banks.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
lending
There are
companies do not fall
subsidiaries
into
and
this category.
affiliates which
Are you
are
aware of the RA
regulated by the
9474
BSP?
states that interest rates and charges may be agreed upon between the lending company and the debtor?
Yes, it is the primary
All right,
power
so
of
you
the
agree,
BSP
you are
that
aware.
interest
You're
rates
also
shall
aware
be
that the law
regulated by
states
the
that a
Bangko
lending
Sentral ng
company
Pilipinas,
should only
and the
grant loans
Securities
within
and Exchange
reasonable
Commission
interest
does not have
rates
any
and
power
charges.
or
Yes or no,
jurisdiction over
Counsel?
such counsel.
Yes or no, Counsel?
The question
You
is,
are not listening. All right. So do you agree that 40% annual interest rate of 2.5 daily interest rate is a reasonable interest
Counsel, the
rate to
SEC
be
and
charged
BSP is
to
now under
individuals
coordination
by
in
these
order to
online
put a
lending
cap on
companies? Yes
interest
or no?
and loan rates, counsel.
Yes or no?
There is already an
Of course
ongoing
not,
coordination,
Counsel.
and we
That
will
is
not
why
be divesting
SEC is a
SEC of
duly
its power
recognized and
because
empowered
it is
commission,
only
has
BSP
the
that has the
competence
power
to
to
regulate these
regulate
companies.
interest rates.
Okay, third negative, Speaker Trixell, you've got 4 minutes to tell us why it would not be practicable for the BSP to regulate online lending.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to first and foremost invalidate the statements made by the speakers of the opposite side of the bench. The necessity speaker failed to understand RA 9474 and 8556 that they delineated BSP and SEC's functions. Finance and lending companies make business out of their own money and not from deposits. Thus, lending companies are clearly outside the ambit of the regulatory mechanism of the BSP. The beneficiality speaker of the affirmative side also hypes the issues surrounding online lending when they did not present any complaints filed with the court against online lending company. Also, the practicability speaker claims that there is no law regulating online lending, but we have SEC Memorandum 19 for that. Your Honors, what makes the proposal not practicable is primarily the existence of the laws. Section 20, Article 12 of the Constitution provides that central bank shall provide policy direction in areas of money, banking, and credit. It shall have supervision over the operation of banks. Yes,
Should
Your Honor.
online lending not be regulated simply because it is online?
Your Honors, it is just a new breed of animal, but it is still a lending company. Therefore, it is under the supervision of the SEC. Moving on, Your Honors, I would like to reiterate the provisions of the laws limiting the regulatory powers of the central bank. The new Central Bank Act, as amended, BSP had phased out its regulatory power over the operations of finance corporation and other institutions performing similar functions and transferred it to SEC. Also, RA 8799 or the 2015 SRC rules provides that SEC monitors compliance of financing and lending companies with existing laws, rules, and regulations. Further, RA 9474 or the Lending Company Regulation Act and RA 8556 or Financing Company Act clearly delineated and distinguished the functions of BSP and SEC. Your Honors, the affirmatives proposal is anchored and crafted from the issues surrounding the online lending companies. We have been hearing these speeches, but the affirmative side did not present any complaints filed with the court relating thereto, yet they are proposing to change the law. The data shows that there are 42 online lending companies that have been issued by SEC cease and desist order, and this is due to failure of securing a permit to operate from the SEC. Take note, these 42 online lending companies are operating on top of the 3,419 online lending companies that are registered to SEC. Your Honors, there is no need to change the law for a few infractions. Amending the laws and overhauling a system proven to have worked for so many years is an act of paranoia. The affirmative side resorted to proposing a solution that is not necessary, not beneficial, and not practicable. They have concerns on lending mobile applications being cloaked with anonymity, but we have SEC Memorandum 19 for that. They have concerns on data privacy breach or disclosure of public information, but we have SEC Memorandum 18 for that. These measures taken by SEC proves their attention over these matters. Henceforth, issues of them pertaining to negligence or ineffectiveness is unfounded. Consequently, putting the BSP on the picture to regulate online lending will not warrant the solution. Problems is just simple. Strengthen these laws, enforce them, and these solutions what we can say necessary, beneficial, and practicable for our government and the Filipino people. Thank you.
2 minutes for the cross-examination. Good evening, Counsel.
Good evening.
Counsel, it is your contention that regulation by the BSP for online lending is enough, correct?
Yes, of
Thank you,
course.
Counsel. Now, are you familiar with the World Bank study by Melikin Pontier in 2012? Thank you, Counsel. Now, in that study, it has been established that a multi-sectoral approach has been employed by
What's your
countries
point
such as
with this,
US,
Counsel? What's your
UK.
point
I'm
with
trying to
this,
show,
Counsel?
Counsel, that there is no single regulatory agency of all these
There is.
countries.
We already have
And
the
that
laws.
is
It provided
because we
that
are trying to
these
establish a
online lending companies
cooperation
should
in
be
these countries.
regulated by
Now,
SEC,
Counsel, would
You
you
are
concede to the
missing
fact
the point
that
here, Counsel.
SEC, aside from SEC, online businesses complies with provisions of AMLA?
Of course.
Thank you, Counsel. How about provisions of from the Data Privacy Act of 2012? Thank you, Counsel. That is a yes. Now, how about imposition of taxes by the BIR?
Of course, but these are
Complies,
partners.
Counsel.
Of course,
How about the
they should comply
provisions
with
of
the requirements
borrower
with these
protection under the
agencies, Counsel.
DTI? So we are trying to show here, Counsel, that it is not only the SEC that has
Counsel, you
regulatory
are missing the
powers
point here,
over
Counsel.
these
The
companies,
SEC,
Counsel,
there is
because we
already
are
a law
now
that grants the
having
SEC
a
the
multi-sectoral
the
approach.
regulation
Now,
of
Counsel,
these online
do you
lending
know the
companies.
basic tenets of
SEC, you are-
financial protection by the BSP?
Counsel, you're missing the point here, Counsel.
Counsel, I'm asking you if you know the basic tenet of financial protection.
Of course, Counsel.
Thank you,
Of course.
Counsel. And you know for a fact that buyer and consumer protection is supreme.
Council,
Yes,
BSP.
that is a yes, Council.
BSP, that
And
is not
it
the
is
main objective
supreme
of the
over
BSP
all
here,
claims
Council.
of impracticability, and it does not actually violate the ease of doing business. Council, have you come up with Republic Act 11127 or the National Payment Systems Act of 2018?
Of course, Council.
Thank you, Council. Section 5 thereof gives BSP jurisdiction over national payment systems mechanism. Now, Council, do you think that the internet or the online lending businesses employs payment mechanisms?
Of course.
Thank you, Council. Which brings online lending
That is
businesses
why
under
they
the
need to be
coverage of
regulated by
BSP
SEC, and the
with the
BSP
advent of RA
does not
11127
have-
or the National
is-
Payment
does not-
Systems Act.
was not
Now,
granted the
Council,
right to
have you
regulate these online
familiarized
lending
yourself
companies.
with the
It is
new
granted
Central
to
Bank
SEC.
Act or 11211, Council?
Of course.
One also the provisions of the amended charter.
Let's now hear what our judges have to say about our debaters. Attorney Beltran, how did the affirmative side do?
I would like to congratulate all the debaters. For the affirmative side, I appreciated the research that you did for this round of the elimination rounds of the square off. I just felt that there should have been more responses to some of the arguments that were thrown by the negative side. But overall, I felt that you had sufficient research, and I appreciate the speeches that you prepared for this battle. Thank you. Congratulations.
And Attorney Regentia, how did the negative side do?
I'm very impressed. I think you guys are well read and well researched arguments, very dynamic speakers. If anyone for both teams proceed to the next round, I suggest that you just have to let the interpolation be clearer and you guys have to be more respectful. Thank you.
And now let's hear from our chief adjudicator, Judge Onqueco. Your Honor, who did the judges pick for best speaker?
Before that, I would just like to agree with my co-adjudicator. Very informative, but please be more respectful towards one another. Okay, so for the best speaker, we have Cristel Hurolan.
And the school that won tonight's debate?
Jesu College.
A big congratulations to Jesu College for winning the 7th elimination round. Our wildcard round is next. Visit Square Off's Facebook page to cast your vote. And next week, we'll give you a recap of some of the highlights this season as we head into the quarterfinals. I'm Mike Yoreta. Thank you for watching.